Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is having an amazing day so far. Welcome to Her Story Live with Teresa Hawkins, and welcome to my Hawkins.Global page. As you come on, please let me know where you're watching from. So wherever you are in the world, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. And even to the replay watchers, hello, hello, hello. And also let me know where you are watching from. I'm always so grateful and so humbled by all of you all that are watching from all over the world, from China, from, Africa, so many different places that message me and comment. So please let me know where you are watching from. I hope everybody is having a great day so far. We are going to have a Her Story review chat. For those of you that's been rocking it out with me since we started Her Story, we have covered so many things so far. I did a 6-week review, but we had several weeks since then. And so I'm going to give an update as well. So I hope everyone has been being blessed. Hello, hello. Mary, good to see you. Hello, Miss Clark, good to see you. Hello, Letta. Hello, Tanisha. Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody on. We're going to do a review chat. We're going to talk about some of the topics that we had and some of the guests that we had on. We have come to the close of our first season, and I'm so excited about that. We're going to return back in the new year in 2021 with another lineup of guests. We have been so blessed to have such an amazing lineup of guests that have come and they have shared. They have not just shared, their story, but they have shared nuggets and testimonies and so many different things. Hello, Mrs. LaFau. So good to see you on. Welcome, woman of God. Thank you for joining me. Hello from the UK. I love the UK. I'm looking forward to getting back to the United Kingdom. I love it there. And so I'm excited to get back there. Hello, Shonda Hall. Good to see you. Christina. I'm going to take just a little bit of time to greet you guys. Usually I don't get a chance to do that. When I bring my guests on, the whole purpose of bringing the guests is so that the guests can share. And so I know some of you have said to me that you haven't heard me share anything in a minute, but the whole purpose was to bring guests so that you will have a whole variety of backgrounds. And we have people from the government that have come on. We've had people from so many different industries that come to be a blessing so we can be well-rounded, so we can be balanced. And so I am so glad that you all are sending me those inquiries, because it allows me to know that it's helping you. It allows me to know who we want to bring on, because I want this platform to be a blessing to all. Hello, Tina. I love you. Hello, Cheryl. Hello. Let me get caught up. Hello, Shamik. Love you. Hello, Tasha. Hello, Prophet Kelton. Love you so much. Can't wait to see you. Y'all go and follow Prophet Kelton Hughes. Go follow him. He's been sharing the word of the Lord, his word today, that God gave him a prophetic word about keys. So go back and check that out. Hello, Apostle Mark. It's good to see you on. And while we have some of the men on as well, we're not only just ending this first season that has been such a tremendous blessing with Her Story, we are also ending the season with his story. And so we have a phenomenal new season that's coming up for his story for the men. And so I have been blessed by that as well. Many of you women have been blessed by his story as well. If you have not seen the His Story broadcast, please go back and watch. We've had Apostle Charlie Howe on. We had Apostle Levi on. We had Apostle Oscar on, and we have so many more that's coming on. And so please make sure that you have your notifications on. Again, welcome everyone. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Her Story Live. For those of you that do not know and that's not aware, Her Story Live was birthed out through this pandemic. We have a group called Sister Girl Arise. We have about over 300 people that has now joined that group in Sister Girl Arise. And what has happened, thank you so much for the star, Sherry Robinson. That group came from, even when I first started ministry, I used to always say to God, God, teach me so I can teach the people, because I felt as though if people knew better, they would do better. That's just been like my mindset. And I've learned over the years with experience, I've learned that that's not always the case with everybody. Some people do know better. They just choose not to do anything differently. However, that's not everybody. And so when we were in the pandemic and, it's still what it is. I wanted to be a blessing because I saw so many women that had so many talents, gifts, was anointed, powerful, but because of situations, because of circumstances, because of challenges that has happened in their life, they felt as though, well, I could do what God wanted me to do, but I could start the business, but I'm dealing with this. I could go and sing the song of the Lord, but I'm challenged with this. And I would try to encourage them and say, hey, come through it, grow through it. Get the assistance. Hello, Miss Sophia, I love you. Get the assistance that you need. If you need guidance, get the guidance. You need deliverance, get deliverance. You need inner healing, get inner healing. You need therapy, get therapy. Don't let nothing stop you from fulfilling the very thing that God birthed you into the earth realm for. What were you born to do? And that was some of the conversations that I was having with people during that time, because, so many had so much time on their hand that depression was trying to overwhelm them, and unresolved issues was coming to the surface. And as I will begin to try to share, and as I will begin to try to talk to the different ones, their whole thing was, well, you don't understand. You're an apostle. You don't understand. You had a business for years, and you don't understand and the more sometimes you try to get somebody to understand that, like, I didn't get here from not going through nothing. I didn't get here from no challenge, but you know what? I got you. All right, fine. So prayer will say, in prayer, God, what can I do to help people that I know that's gifted, anointed, talented, powerful? That is a life changer, a world changer, a shaker, a mover, a history maker. Like, God, what can I do? Because you can't be somebody over the head to get revelation that they can't really see through you. But God is so wise, and God will give us wisdom. And wisdom was to create a platform that other people, hello, Elijah, I love you, that you can bring other people on to tell their story, that are leading people. And so we've had Mayor Kim Bracey, who was the former mayor in York City. You know why? Because everybody is not called to the church. That's one of the things that I found out when I first started into my own work. I've been in ministry for years, but when God called me to start my own work, I found out that everyone isn't called to be behind the podium. Everyone isn't called to be behind the pulpit, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. That was one of the things that God spoke to me. He said, don't try to force a mic into everybody's hand that you see a fivefold office on. Now, you know what? Some people probably don't like that, but I said God told me that. He may have not told you that, but what he told me for the house he's given me, he said that he was sending marketplace leaders, he was sending government officials, and he was also sending in those that will shift things in the culture of churches and ministries. So I had to get an understanding of, God, what does this look like? What do this mean? And so if I'm going to be balanced in the house, I have to be balanced on my platform, because I'm almost certain I'm not the only one that God spoke that to. I would love to believe, and I tell people all the time, I want to believe that, I know there's no respect of persons. God has no respect of persons. The scripture tells us that, but I'm like, well, God, can I at least feel like I'm your favorite? We don't have to tell nobody no different. Like, let me just feel like I'm your favorite. And so because of that, because God told me that, I had to pray in how to get balanced. So because I understand everybody is not called to have the mic per se from a podium, does not mean that they're not called to shift and shake nations. Because guess what? The prophet is still necessary in the marketplace, because there's some people. Now, I understand the way things are, depending on where you located. You might not be able to gather in a brick and mortar. You might not be able to gather in a facility. However, before that, there's some people that's not coming to that anyway. They wasn't coming before the shutdown. Some may not come after the shutdown. But guess what? In the mall, they should still be able to receive their healing, because Jesus is not limited just to our church on Sundays or Fridays or Saturdays or Mondays or whatever day of the week it is. I tell people I long for the day when we're in Walmart and we hear healing on aisle 6, breakthrough on aisle 1, miraculous healing on aisle 10. We need a pickup because somebody was hit by the presence of God in the frozen food section. What about that? What about Jesus in the laundromat? Because there's some people that will go to the laundromat that will never come into the house of worship. And we argue about those particular things. And I have been guilty in times past with family members. Why you ain't go to church? You need to go to church. You should be in church. You should be this and you should that. And it becomes an argument. But the Bible says he that wins souls is wise. So then prayer would be, God, what's the strategy? What is wisdom in this season? What do we need to do? Because if we want to be well versed, if they're not coming to us, how do we get God to them? All right. Because when I just said that, please share. If you haven't shared, thank you so much for the stars. There's a scripture passage in the Bible that I ministered in my church. And I titled it, Be a Tear the Roof Offer. Be one that is willing to tear the roof off to get your loved one to Jesus. There is a story in the Bible that talks about how this person was sick. And as they were very, very sick, it was packed. It was paraphrasing the story for the sake of time. And because of everything that was going on, they tore the roof off to lift him out so they can get him to Jesus. And I began to minister and say, I need some tear the roof off type of people in my life that is by any means necessary. Get me to my deliverance. Get me to my healing. Get me to my restoration. And if I'm going to require that in my life, then we need to be that in the lives of others. So we get to this platform and say, guess what? The people may be called to fivefold. It may be prophets, apostles, evangelists, teachers, and it could be just business owners, entrepreneurs, government officials. Because we still have authority in our words to shift and change lives. I know people, we can make this balance. I know youth and young adults and some adults that are inspired probably more so by people that's not even in the church than those that are in the church. Because of their strategy, because of their structure, because of what they have acquired. Right? So talking about, I told y'all this is a chat. We gonna have a chat. So y'all bear with me. I'll be in and out with the comments. So hello. I think I see Craig on here. Hello. Yeah, that's right, Tina. Tear the roof off circle. And so the reason of his story, her story, and there's some other things in the work. And so if we can't get to the people, then you bring people to the people. By any means necessary, right? And so we had Mayor Bracy to come on. Why? Because I need people to understand she made it to be the status of the mayor. But there's some challenges to get there. You're going to have challenges in life. You're going to have challenges. And I understand to some people, and I remember when this pandemic first started, when back in February, back in April, I remember going live on my page. That's when our nails wasn't done. We couldn't really get to the beauty salon like we wanted to. We were like, it was a little challenge here and there for some of us. And I went on my personal page just to say hello, what's up? And it turned into a teaching. Let me help you understand why it turned into me teaching, with me just saying hello, how's everybody doing? It turned into a teaching because when I started reading in the comments, people started saying, you don't look like you in a pandemic. You don't look like what's going on. Like, how you look like that and we're over here looking like this? And we laughed about it, but then all of a sudden I said, wait a minute. We're not to fake it, but you should not look like devastation when you understand that God is with you. It's a matter of understanding God. What's the strategy? What's the revelation? What's the information? What is it that we need? So I wanted Mayor Bracy to come so people can see, you see where she is now, but there was a process to where she acquired the position of being the mayor. And one of the things I wanted people to understand is that she's the mayor, but she's also a woman of God. Because we got to be careful with our words. The reason why I wanted to make it balanced is because we make statements like, prayer not in school anymore. And we start speaking it. Be careful what you're speaking. Prayer may not be in school how it used to be years ago. But it don't mean that prayer isn't in school at all. Because if you put prayer in your child and your child is in the school, now prayer is in school through the vehicle of your child. Okay. But we're speaking that prayer isn't in school. And I had to stop saying, people like, prayer ain't school, baby, prayer in school. How prayer in school? I said prayer in my kids' school. Well, how prayer in your kids' school? Because prayer's in my kids. My kids know if something pop off, God, we call on you now. You don't have to do it out loud. Begin to intercede within yourself. Father, we need you. God, send angelic assistants to take their part. You begin to teach them so that when they get into particular positions and places, we're still able to govern. We're still able to hold authority. So when people start always prophesying people out of the marketplace because they see the call, it changes the revelation of what we need to be in existence. All right, this is a chat, right? Y'all know I'm passionate about some stuff, right? So I wanted Mayor Bracy to come on to not only to show people that God blessed her to have the office of the mayor, and a female at that. I wanted her to share some of her challenges because I need those that are here to understand, never allow your past, your situations, or your circumstances from the past to ever define your future. Your future has already been defined before you have ever even walked into any situation, any challenge, or anything that will cause you to feel like God is not with you. So I wanted people to tell their story because people's like, oh, she don't understand. Pastor Teresa don't get it. Right? So let me bring other people that have got to a place in God that can help you to understand. Pick yourself up, get it together. What did they do? All right, what did you do to get to where you are? And then she would talk about prayer, and she would talk about going to church, because many of times we say that we can't balance. Okay, we can do the business, or we can do church, or we can do church, but we can't do family. Wait a minute. Then let's bring some people that can help us balance things. How did you balance that? And so we brought a variety of people on so they can have, so everybody can see maybe what's on them. Now we have some minstrels and singers and artists and different people that's coming next season, because again, I want to keep it balanced. But let me pick back up off of where I left off with that last 6-week review, because it's been a while since we did that 6-week review. Hello again, everybody. And please share this, because for those that have not seen her stories, they will watch this. Last time I did a review, many people watched the review and said, wow, I need to go back and watch it. And so again, this was, and it is, so you can see, doesn't matter what you've been through, going through, God is with you and will help you. But you got to change your mindset of how you perceive and understand. Hey, Prophet Kayvon, love you. You have to change your mindset and how you receive. So what I did was I had Pastor Sharonda to come on. Let me go back and look at this list. I was like, wow, God favored us. We had a whole lot of people that came on here. God really blessed us. We had Pastor Sharonda that came on, and let me get exactly what her topic was, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you have any questions, put your questions in here. I will try to get to your questions. If there's too many questions, then I'll come back and do just a strict Q&A. let me get back to where Pastor Sharonda is. We have so many. I'm actually going through because I want to touch on all of these particular ones. And then while in the comments, if you remember which one really changed your life, let me know which one it was, and we will talk about that as well. Pastor Sharonda, topic was I snatched my life back. And everyone that there was a topic, God pretty much, when I brought the guests on, let me say this. Our guests are selected through prayer. Hey, Mr. Mika, love you, through prayer. And so when they confirm, or prior to that, I'll hear the topic. And then their testimony. Hers was I snatched my life back. She talked about how she was arrested. She's a pastor. She's a graphic artist. She was arrested. They came picked up off her job. I'm like, they came picked up off her job. Oh my goodness. And I'm on the other end, like, listen, like, did they put her in cuffs? Like, did they cuff you behind your back? Like, did you hold your head up when you was walking out? Like, look, I know I ain't do nothing. Were you like that? Were you like, oh man, I can't believe, they done did this. Like you be having these questions, and we're going to talk about that too with Apostle Octavia. You be having these questions, but really, I need these titles to get you, because the story will relate to yours. Snatch your life back. If something happened and you feel like it snatched the joy out of you, it snatched the life out of you, it snatched the momentum out of you, then you snatch it back. You take it back. You got to get to a place. And so when I looked at Pastor Sharonda, and when I looked at her life and how she's building, and she just launched a new book, just wrote a book. And her book is climbing on the Amazon chart. And this was prior to that. I watched how she snatched her life back. So I wanted to come and tell people how you snatch your life back. Because that's what I see. From what I see from your story, you snatched your life back. You confiscated it back from the enemy. Now help the people. Because we got to understand that our testimonies help people. Those that have ears to hear. So she began to share her story. So wait a minute. I had to ask, wait a minute, Pastor Sharonda. So you mean to tell me you got arrested and God still allowed you to be a pastor? Wait a minute. You were arrested on your job and you didn't just stay in a place of depression. All right. When you had depression, how did you get out of depression? All right. You had a horrible marriage, but you believed in God again to find love again. How did you do that? Because I know some people that said, I had it once and it didn't work out right for me. I don't like men. I don't want men to talk to me. I don't even want a man to lead me. Wait a minute. Help the people. How? How did you snatch your whole life back? You snatch your whole entire life back. And that's what we want to do. Be healed and made whole. Snatch it back. Be bold, very courageous. Snatch it back. God is with you. God is with you. How did you get through the depression? Because guess what? I know some like to lie. I'm not down. I'm not this. I'm not this. And it gives the enemy access. You can't tell everybody, like you can't post it on Facebook like some people do. Get yourself a journal. Get yourself some help and assistance, a trusted voice. Someone that can never, and that's how the guests begin to be transparent. And they begin to share their story. So Pastor Sharonda, that was, I snatched my life back. And the main thing was people saw the title. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, snatch your life back. Snatch your life back. Somebody put that in the comments. Snatch your life back. And after you write snatch your life back so somebody can read it, then you put, I want you to write after you put snatch your life back, because when people read that, that's a word to others that may not have snatched their life back. Right? After that, I want you to put I snatched my life back. Declare that over yourself. Come on, let's put that in the comments. Let's help somebody. Put snatch your life back. Snatch your life back. Snatch your joy back. Your joy. You know what happened? Let me tell you this. This has been a challenge. I love God. God is with me. God has blessed me. We have launched 2 We have launched 2 broadcasts. We have so many different things in the works. I've launched a training group. We've done so much in the midst of a pandemic. God has been faithful. But I ain't never lived through no pandemic before. This is the first time living through a pandemic. So there were some challenges here and there on some stuff, right? And so with some challenges, I realized about a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I started laughing like I haven't laughed the way I've been laughing like in years. A good old belly laugh. You know, we talk about the silent cry. What about that silent laugh? That silent laugh that you like, oh my God, if I don't make a sound, am I going to be able to breathe? You know that laughing when it turns to tears? Snatch your joy back. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Be strengthened today in Jesus' name. Be strengthened today in Jesus' name. Snatch your life back. Snatch your mind back, your momentum back. And when you snatch your joy back, and when you understand, wait a minute, there is purpose in me. I went through some things, yes, but there's still purpose on the inside of you. You got to get to a place. So I wanted her to share that because really the message is snatch your life back. So then, you know, she shared about abuse. She was in an abusive situation. She shared about the abuse that she was in. You know, we had Pastor Queena that came on. We had Letta Smith to come on. Thank you, Mary, for the stars. We had Letta Smith to come on. And let me help you all understand because we're just chatting. We had Letta Smith to come on. And sometimes just by way of conversation, I hear, because you can always hear when somebody is delivered. You can always hear when somebody's life has been radically shifted and changed by the love of God. You can just hear it. And sometimes I hear people say that they're delivered, but there's other people they just talk and you can hear it. And just in hearing her conversation, hearing her talk and know what her first marriage was like. And she found love again. And the fact that she was abused in her first marriage, she was abused in many times. And this is the reality of it is a lot of times if a soul tie is not dealt with, when we come out of relationships with soul ties, if that soul tie is left undealt with, we end up in a relationship with a different name, a different person, but the same spirit is in existence because we're still drawn to that same type of personality. So you know how when you have got out of a relationship or you got out of a situation and you hear somebody else say, like, how did I get into this again? Chances are that soul tie wasn't dealt with and you were still attracted to something. So I noticed that from being in an abusive relationship, she got married. Her and her husband has a beautiful relationship. They have a blended family. How many of you all know somebody that have a blended family? You might not have a blended family, but you know somebody that has a blended family. Then they have a beautiful blended family. So I need you to come and share with the people. Help them understand how did you get through the abuse emotionally? How did you get through it mentally? How did you go through a place of being whole? And the thing that I love about her story, because we're just going down memory lane. The thing that I loved about her story, when I first told her I wanted her to go live, she said to me, well, I wasn't like saved during that time. I wasn't always saved. Like I'm saved now. Her thing to me was like, you see me dancing and flagging and you see me doing all these things now, but I wasn't really saved when this was going on. Perfect. That's good. That's real good. Perfect. I need that. Because some people think, well, because they're saved, they were able to deal with that. Because they're saved, they could do that. I know people who saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, and still need more prayer. And I said, that's perfect because everybody on this platform is not where somebody else is. We're all at different places of growth. And you have to be okay with that, because a lot of times we say to people, well, I know you don't understand because I'm not where you are. I'm okay that you're not where you are, but you got to be okay with where you're not so you can grow to where you need to be. So that was good, because you wasn't there, but tell us, how did you get there? Because now you just made your story a little bit more meatier for me. Because I need you to help the women and the people and the men that are watching on. How did you get from that place of going through that? Because I know some people who was even at one time going to church on a regular basis, that when chaos happened in their life, they say, you know what? Because God allowed this, I don't want to do that anymore. Help them. Help them and allow them to know they're not the only one. But God is faithful. He came through. Help them. Tell them your story. And so we had people that write and said that they were blessed. She had people that tell, well, I didn't even know that you went through that. Like, I didn't even understand that you went through that. And so that's a testimony in itself, because many times we get upset because people don't know what we're going through. But at the same time, it shows them the power and authority of how God would give us grace. Right? So what else did we have? I'm skipping over some of them. I want you to go back and watch. I seen some of you put out Apostle Octavia. Apostle Octavia came on, and hers was, I dated a serial killer. What? She dated a serial killer? Like, oh my goodness, what in the world? Like, Apostle. That's how people do when you're in church, right? When people know you're a leader, they be like, Apostle. You tell them something about your past or something you done been through. They be like, you did what? Oh my. Wait a minute. Don't judge me by my past, because my past have deliverance for your future. Oh my God. Don't judge me by my past, because my past have deliverance for your future, because I'm not there no more. She's not there anymore, right? Right? And so she began to share her story that she dated a serial killer. And God just pulled her through that. She talked about how God protected her and covered her. And it was so much deliverance in her life, like it was in so many of the other lives. It was so much deliverance. She shared what she was attracted to, why she was attracted to that. She shared about her story about being molested and how that played into it. You have to go back, because we had to do 2 parts to that. Because in a lot of these her stories, I did Q&A, because many of the questions that I've had people that ask me, we've asked these various guests pertaining to what they've been through, how did they get through it, and how did they get over it? Because many times you'll come out of a situation, but that situation still have you in bondage. And the thing about it was, wait a minute, Apostle, you dated a serial killer, but you are an apostle of the Lord Jesus. You're leading people. You're married. You have a beautiful family. How did you get over the molestation? How did you get over the abuse? Because she was being abused, and she found out that God protected her, because this particular person that was a serial killer had also harmed other people while they were in a relationship. But God got her out of it and spared her. She has a testimony, and she has a story. Right? And so we did 2 parts. We did 2 parts for her. We had Pastor Aquina Washington. I brought her on a couple of times. I brought Pastor Aquina Washington on. And if you have any questions, please put your questions down. If you have any questions about anything. And again, if there's something that really bless you and you remember, put that out there, and I'll highlight that as well. I had Pastor Aquina to come on a couple of times. The first time I had her to come on, she is the councilwoman of York City. She's the councilwoman of the city that Hub York is in, where I am. And so she's also now one of the pastors there. And so I brought her on as the councilwoman, because when Mayor Bracy was the guest, Mayor Bracy kept talking about her assistant Aquina. And I kept talking about my assistant at Edwina. And I said, well, I need to bring Edwina on because if she's in the government, she's a councilwoman. She wasn't a councilwoman at the time, but she was the assistant to the mayor. And then she came into church and God began to train her at an accelerated pace. She had become an assistant to me. So now you need to help the people. How are you a leading lady building your own entrepreneur business? You are working in the government. You have a call to the ministry. You're serving a leading lady in the government. You're serving a leading lady in ministry, and you have kids. How do you balance that? How do you handle that when you got two strong women that is asking for your assistance and you have kids? Because many of us say we don't know how to balance. Like, I'm just trying to take care of me and mine, and apostle want me to do all this, and man want me to do all this, but I'm trying to build my own business. Wait a minute. And you're able to do it flawlessly, but there's challenges. I know there's challenges because people think I do everything flawlessly, but there are challenges. God gives us grace. And don't let the grace fool you. We're grateful for grace, but don't let the grace make you feel as though God won't give you some. And so I said, let's bring her on because that's another topic. How do you do that? How? The government, so you were serving the mayor and you have to help, you have to fill in when she's not there. When she can't go, you step in, you assist in that, but you still got to go home. Now you come to a church and you have a leader that is very creative, that can tell you 20 things to do in one moment. And you wrote down all 20, and then I'm like, well, with the other 10, and you like, yes, ma'am, because you're hoping God reveal what the other 10 is, because I literally only gave you 20, but you still do it humbly. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't give you the other 10, right? No, ma'am. And you how do you handle the people that say you think you better than everybody because you serving in the government and you serving over here and you think how do you handle that? How do you handle when you go home and you got these deadlines to meet, but your babies want to watch a movie? How? Tell the people. Tell them how do you balance being in the government and being in ministry? That's still two strong things. How? Because it's doable. You can be called to multiple spheres of influence. I know sometimes people say if you're called to the government, you can't be in the mountain of religion. You can't be serving in the church. I know that there are some people who say that. I know that there's, and then I'll go a step further to say this. For those of you that have been on here with me and those of you that's watching the replay, do you remember when I said that everybody that is called to fivefold, God gave me the word and told me don't try to fit a mic into everybody's hand within the four walls? Somebody was going to prophesy her out of her job. And I had to tell them that's off. That's real off. Especially for that season. That's real off. And you have to be careful that just because people see the preach on you, or they see the teacher in you, or they see the prophetic in you, or they see the apostolic in you, or they see the creativeness in you, you have to be careful because people see that and they'll prophesy you out of your job, but that position was for your purpose. Okay. I had to go and help her to understand that if we keep prophesying people out of key positions, then how are the prophets, the pastors, the evangelists, and the teachers still in the government if we keep taking them out because we want them to be in full-time ministry? You do know that there's some anointed judges, just like there was an anointed mayor, and there are anointed mayors. So I had to go and listen. Somebody was like, and God's going to come. That's not the word of the Lord right there. Not in this season. That's not the word of the Lord. That's not the word of the Lord in this season. God is not prophesying you out of the government because we're recognizing the call to ministry on you. Oh, see, I know some people don't like that, but it's true. It is true for this particular woman of God. Because sometimes people think because you are in one industry and now we see the preach, the gift, or the call, that means, no, you don't compromise. That's the word right there. There's no compromise. We don't compromise. We stand for what's true to God. We don't compromise. And we have to be strong in what God has placed on the inside of us, that we don't compromise. But God's not moving you right now. Why? Because he's putting you, remember I said prayers in schools by the vehicle of the person? Because I know that prayer is in the government. I know that the word is being spoken, prophesied in the government, not just by her, but by other vessels. And so we need to talk. We need to talk about that. That was something that needed to be discussed, because we're going to shut that one all the way down. We're going to shut that down. That's not the word of the Lord in this season for your life. Now, at that time, she wasn't a councilwoman. It's just that, wait a minute, we see this call on you. You working in the government, and no, that's not the word of the Lord. God not calling her out. God not calling her out the government for church. God's going to use her in both places right now. Now, if he change it later, then he change it later. But in that season, that's why we got to know when to release a word. We got to, just because God spoke it to you, is that the timing that you release it. We have to be careful. Because sometimes people don't know to take it and discern it, but we hear and run right with it. All right. Well, Apostle, I don't know what you're talking about. Teresa, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. This lady was at this ministry. And this lady was about to stay at the church she was. Let me put it that way. She was at a church. She had talked to her leader at the time. The leader asked her, there were some people that had left the ministry and was moving, going to other places, still connected to the leaders. It wasn't a tear. It wasn't a bad separation. It's just that some leaders were like, hey, I need to go over here, and God is going to do something on me over here. I'm still going to be connected here, but I have to go over here. And so the leaders just was checking and saying, hey, because you got a close relationship with that person, are you leaving as well? And the person said, no, God didn't tell me to leave. That's what they told their pastor at the time. No, God didn't tell me to leave. Right? I'm talking about how we have to be careful. Said to their pastor, God told him not to leave. So we went to a service of somebody that we was connected to on a particular day. And this person had a prophet that came in, and the prophet was their guest speaker. So when service was over with, I was introducing the prophet to this person. Now, I didn't know the prophet. The prophet was just introduced to me. So I'm introducing the prophet to this person. And the prophet says to the person, do you go to this church? And they said no. And the prophet was like, you're going to be in this church. Your feet going to be planted in this church. Your feet. Now, I knew that wasn't the word of the Lord. The church was building, and the pastor of that church, they were friends, and they just wanted people to come in. Like, wait a minute, you're a nice person. So the person thought, this is what God wants from me. So they broke covenant because somebody said, God's going to plant your feet here. So because I know things like that, and I see it so much, I see it a whole lot. I'm not even going to turn this into a prophetic teaching. I see it so much that when that happened, no. And so because of that, I wanted you to come and share. I want you to explain to people that it can be done. How do you do it? Why do I believe that it can be done? Because it's being done. She's not the only one. There's many people. There's some of you all that's watching. There's some that's watching the replay that does the same thing. So it was to help people that, you know what? Wait a minute. God can use you there. Yes, he can. He sure can. God definitely can use you wherever he ordained and designed for you to be. So that was the first time we had her on. Then we brought her back on, and the topic was silent no more. Silent no more. You got to get to a place that when God allows me to be who he's called me to be, and really that should be when you allow yourself, because God has already ordained for you to be who he's called you to be. When you get to a place that you're going to be and you understand that you are valuable, you are lovable, that you are worth being honored, you'll get to a place, I'm not going to be silent no more. Why are some of us silent? Because we're scared. We've been through traumatic experiences and traumatic situations. And so I needed her to get to a place of she was in abuse. She is an advocate for women that have been abused. And so what I noticed was there began to be a pattern. It wasn't even designed this way. As the different women would come on to share their story, I was looking at their success, but I know that there was a story to get to where they are. They all had something in common. All of them dealt with something traumatic in their childhood or to their young adult or early adult years. So she was in an abusive relationship. She had went through some traumatic experiences. And that stuff paralyzes you into a place of fear. It paralyzes you into a place of trauma that you can't be effective the way that God designed and what you need to do. So now we need to talk about, how did you get your voice back? You're not silent anymore. You're not scared anymore. She talked about how she went to work one day with a black eye and she had on some glasses. A black eye. How did you deal with that? What happens? Because sometimes people try to help a person and they don't want the help yet. How did you get out of this situation? Why? Because we want to help people know, how do you get free? She had resources. She had numbers for people to call. And by God's grace, some women reached out to us. Some reached out and said, hey, I'm in that situation. And we had someone to reach out back to them. Because you don't have to be silent, meaning traumatized. Help is available. Deliverance is available. Therapy is available. Healing is available. Some people just don't know it's available, right? So, we had Pastor Allison on. And Pastor Allison, we talked about the queen within. You do know that there's a queen within you, right? You do know that there's a queen within you. Just like with the men, there's a king in them. The men, there's a king in the men, and there's a queen within you. But you gotta come to the realization that there's a queen in you. The Bible lets us know that we are a part of a royal priesthood. And you got to get that revelation. And so I knew that Pastor Allison will always host these retreats and dealing with the queen within and dealing with the queen. And so how did you get to this passion to pull the queen out in women? Because many times when that is, not all the time, but many times when you have that type of passion, it's because it was something that was in you that you didn't see. And it's almost like, I got to help people to see what I didn't see, because I didn't see it, but thank God I got it. So let me help them get it. And she began to share her story, and she began to share how she was held upside down over a balcony and her life was threatened. How did you get over that? Then she created products, and almost every one of my guests are entrepreneurs as well. They're leading women, they're entrepreneurs. I mean, they're just blessed. But they all have a story where God delivered them from traumatic experience. Are you getting this? Like your greatest days are ahead of you. Your greatest days are ahead of you. Your greatest days are ahead of you. According to your faith, be it unto you. I'm going to say that again. Your greatest days are ahead of you, but according to your faith, be it unto you. Because what happens is sometimes we go places and say, well, that lady said that, these are the greatest days are ahead of me, but then this done happen. The cat done flipped over 10 times and said that they don't want to meow no more. And the dog said, I don't feel like barking today no more. And then we make up all these excuses of why it's not the greatest days are ahead of me. No, your faith brings that into existence. You do know that once you get a revelation, the enemy will come to try to rob you. The enemy comes immediately to steal the word. And the blessing is, because we know that he comes immediately, you got to hold on to that thing. No, I got a word. My greatest days are ahead of me. I'm not moved by what it look like, because we are to walk by faith and not by sight. And if I get caught up looking at sight, I'm going to lose what I believe. The enemy comes immediately to rob us, because he knows we get that faith, it's a done deal. When you step into that faith, it's a done deal. So he comes to shake it. He comes to challenge it. So you got to hold on to it. And so your greatest days are ahead of you, but according to your faith be it unto you. I remember, let me tell you how God just really made that revelation real strong with me. God started using me and operating through me and healing in our ministry. And people would come to the altar and they would come there with walkers or had a cane or something. And God will miraculously heal them by his amazing power. And the next week, the same person that didn't need the cane, that didn't need the walker, come back limping with the walker and with the cane. And they like, I need prayer. I'm not healed. And it was like a repetitive cycle that kept going on. It was like, that y'all better hear this. It was a repetitive cycle. There was a person that had a stroke and was limped on one side and body was twisted and everything was going on. And God healed them, that their body straightened up, their arms straightened, their face straightened, and their speech wasn't slurred. But what was happening is these people was being miraculously healed, but coming back to the altar like it didn't work. First thing I'm always going to do is check me like, God, like, what did I do wrong? Like, Father, I know what you said. And them people, I know they were, because they didn't need the walker. The whole church saw the whole transition, the whole transformation. Like, God, what happened? And he told me, he said, I want you to go and read every miracle in the Bible. I want you to go in the New Testaments and I want you to read the miracle. And he started highlighting between certain passages he wanted me to read. And when I started reading with some of the miracles that Jesus performed, it said, according to your faith. And so I went back and I told that to the church. Wait a minute. What's happening is the enemy don't want you in that moment you're receiving your deliverance. That's why sometimes we can hear this now and we get excited. Wait a minute. My greatest days is ahead of me. And then tomorrow the enemy tries to come and rob it. But you got to be determined to still hold on to it tomorrow and next week. And I don't care if it's next month until you see the manifestation of it. So what happened was the enemy would punk them. I remember somebody that had their body twisted, walked back to their seat untwisted, but when their mind reminded them of what they were accustomed to, they twist right back up. Because you got to bring your mind into alignment with the words that you're speaking by faith. You got to bring yourself into alignment, your mind into alignment of what you're speaking by faith until it becomes a reality. So your greatest days are ahead of you. This is the crazy stuff people say. That woman going to say the greatest days are ahead of us. She don't know we're in a pandemic, like they ready to lock things back down. We are in the world, not of the world. We will experience the things that are happening, but God is so strategic that he gives us strategies on how to maneuver. Guess what? Many of us could not get to the brick and mortar, but guess what? We still getting the word of the Lord by technology. But when we don't have our mind in a place, we're not open for God to give us revelation and insight. So you got to get to an understanding that my great, I don't know about you, but my greatest days are ahead of me because I believe it by faith. I believe it by faith. I believe it by faith. My greatest days are ahead of me. I believe it by faith. You have to believe it by faith. Faith to believe. Faith to receive, right? And so even when it comes down to what's on the inside of you, it might not feel like it. It might not look like it. You got to hold on to it. So when the people start getting that revelation, wait a minute, according to your faith, I know you was in that moment you brought into my faith, but it's going to take your faith to maintain this thing. That's why sometimes we feel like we have a false start. That's where some people are discouraged because I got everything together for my business. I got everything for my ministry and people didn't come through. The finances got messed up or whatever. Right, but guess what? I'm waiting to see how God's going to give me a strategy to fix this thing now. I know it's not coming this way, but because I have a word from the Lord, I'm just going to wait. But that means you stay in faith. Why? Because your testimony is coming forth. You are in the motion of the fullness of your story, or for some of you all, there's a new chapter or your conclusion to your story. All right, so that whole thing with all these different her story lives, the whole thing that you have to understand, and this season has been phenomenal. And this was just the beginning. This was just us feeling our way through to like, okay, let's put something out there. Let's see how it works out. And each time, I mean, it was just amazing. This is just the beginning. And that's how you have to understand that no matter where you are, you can move from where you were to where God wants you to be. You have to believe. Don't let nothing stop you. That's what her story was about. And we started with his story. His story has, you know what, let me tell y'all what blessed me with his story. Before there was a her story, for years, my husband and I really just worked with like men's ministry. Because I felt like women had so much. We had women that lose. We had all these women gatherings. We had all these things. So with my husband working with them, it wasn't a whole lot at that time when we started for men. So everybody kept on saying, you need to do something with women. You need to do something with women. And I'm like, it's so much stuff for women. But then when God started really dealing with me in this season with it, about it, then putting it together, we were still in the pandemic, but his people were still getting what they needed. That's why I said you got to understand that your greatest days are ahead of you, no matter what it looks like, no matter what you're in. So through that, I was like, that's why you got to always obey God. Always obey God. Always obey God. So for the majority of my ministry, my husband and I was doing men's ministry. For the majority, building up sons, building up the men, building things for the men, putting things in place as I was assisting my husband, right? So here it is. We get to this, and I'm like, a part of me is like, okay, God, I'm going to do this woman thing, but I just really thought like, you know, the men, but God, you know, I'm going to obey you. That's why when it seemed like there's a shift, just go with God. Don't argue. Go with God. Because he could just be adding. And if he is subtracting, it's necessary for what he's going to add later. So I stopped everything with it and said, let's get this sister girl arise that has grew to over 300 people in that group so far. And that's a closed group. And we had her story. The blessing is that men started contacting the ministry and said, I see that y'all have her story, but the men don't need nothing. Oh, what? You see how when you obey God? So that's why it may look like things are being taken away, but God will still add things in a different way. He will still add things in a different way. And the blessing is that you know for sure emphatically that it's God. So the next thing you know, it was one person. And it was somebody that I know, like, if it was whack, they wouldn't have messaged me. They messaged and said, so what's going on for the men? Oh, that's nice. You got something for the women, but so what about men? And to be honest with you, y'all know I'm very transparent. Not that this is a problem. That's great for everybody that's called strictly to a woman's ministry because it's necessary. That's not nothing against it. I'm being transparent. I didn't want to do it. And then now the other ministry that God has given me would die down because the men and the young adult that's connected and that has been pulling will say, oh, she only cares about women, and it will fall off. So there was a battle. Always trust God. But I'm always going to obey God. There was a battle but God, if I do this, then it's going to look like the lies and the accusations of what people were saying that she's just a woman's leader. No, but I love leading women. But I have sons and there's men and other elders that respect and honor my ministry. And so when the men started calling, then another man called and they were leaders. It was leaders of substance that began to call and say, you're not doing anything for men? I got you. You ain't say nothing but a word. Oh, we got you on this. And so I started calling men. And the last one, let me start off with the last one. I'm going to let you all go. Because we can do another one before the year end, because we have a whole new season of his story and her story that's coming up in 2021. Now we can really, because we had a chance to fill it out, we can really put things in place. My fan must have died out because I've been tried to get it a few times and it's still not on. But you might hear some noise in just a second. But we just started it out. We had a chance to fill it out. And so now we have the next season that's going to be great. And so the last one that we did with Apostle Levi, he began to share how he was in the industry with music. He began to share how he was on drugs. He began to share how he committed suicide. And I was like, well, bless the people, man of God. Bless them. Because many times people don't realize that men got stories too. They're powerful. They're anointed. But they went through something. He began to share how, go back and watch it. You got to watch it. It's so good. He began to share how when his wife, who wasn't his wife at the time, invited him to church, he was like, he didn't go to church for God. He didn't go there to get a word from God. He went there because he liked her. So and I told him, I was like, and you mean to tell me, so you got God in the woman. Like you just devil made out. You doubly made out by getting the woman. And you got God. You just made out. But he began to share his story about being on the secular side and giving up things in the secular and how much it cost and what he went through and the mental battles he went through. And then how God has blessed him in ministry. He shared both sides. Apostle Oscar, he began to share things about our lineage and history and all kinds of things. And Apostle Charlie just set some things in order with humor. And he just got the thing straight. And Apostle Charlie, he was so humorous. He was so funny because he was like, Teresa, what I was talking about. Because it's so much, the men have so much to pour as well. So his story just got started, but it hit the ground running. So please go back and watch. So that was our review. I tried to go through that so fast because everything was so detailed. It was so detailed. Let us know some topics that you would want to hear about, some people, the backgrounds of maybe the industries that they are in, because we want to be a blessing. We want to be a blessing. If anybody have any questions, I will take a couple of questions very quick. This was, like I said, just a chat. Just wanted to chat about her story because we ended our season and we are working on our next season. And I am so excited. I'm so super excited about it. If you are not in our Sister Girl Arise group, you might want to ask yourself, like, why not? But that is an outstanding group. If I wasn't one of the leaders of that group, I would definitely join that group. It's very, very helpful. All of the leaders and the women of God that have been on this platform are in that group. Prophet Marisol. Prophet Marisol is one of the ones that cracked a lot of this stuff open with the story with her and her husband. And so Prophet Marisol is in that group. Apostle Octavia is in that group. Pastor McQueen is in that group. Letta Smith is in that group. Dr. Taquita Baker is in that group, and she blessed us. I mean, if you want to write a book, you need to go back and read that, listen to that live. She gave tips. I mean, that woman is a book writing machine. And she gave lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of nuggets that will really bless you. She is in that group. Dr. Victoria Michaels kicked it off. I can bring her in. There's some lives in the group that she came in and did some personal lives that I could not do on this platform because I wanted to be very, very personal for the women. Pastor Sharonda is there. We have a lot of the women that's there because I want them to also be accessible in that group for help. So we make sure that we are interactive. We have intercessors in the group to pray for you. We have people from all backgrounds backgrounds, women from all backgrounds that's in that group, because we all can add to each other. So if you're not in that group, hopefully one of my admins will put that link in so you can go. Please be patient with my team. That group has, it's not something that you can just join. Once you go and you request to be a part of it, you have to be accepted, because we want to make sure that we are, at this point, we're watching to see who comes in the group, because it started growing so rapidly. So I kind of like held off with adding people in. It wasn't about the numbers. I appreciate numbers. Numbers are great. People are like, see, she said it, but no, numbers, I like numbers. Numbers are good, but it's not about the numbers. So it grew so fast. I wanted to make sure that the quality of what the people were getting was what we could do to help them. And so we needed to streamline some things. So there was some people we didn't get a chance to put in, because I wanted to make sure that the people that were in the group, they requested in the beginning, you could add somebody to the group and we would accept them. Now you would have to request the group, and that's right there, is pinned right there. You would have to request it, and then we will look at your account. If you don't have a profile picture, you will not be accepted. And I'm just going to be honest with you. If you only have one friend, if you only have one Facebook friend, you're not going to be accepted. But come back when you get a couple of more friends. When you get a couple of more friends, try again, and we'll look at it again. And somebody might say, that sound mean. What if this person is new? Because of the content and what some people might be writing on their post, I'm not going to take a chance for a fraudulent account or a scam account to come in and see somebody's information. We want to protect the people that are in the group. And so if you have one friend, I'm not going to accept you into the group, but come back and try again. So what I'm saying is, if you are legit, and if you know somebody and they really just starting their friend, and I get it, I understand sometimes our accounts get hacked, but guess what? You know at least 15 people. I don't care if they're your family members, that you can be your friends, right? I've seen accounts come through. You don't have no friend. No, declined. You don't have no friends. Declined. And so, because we want to make sure that we protect the content that we're given inside the group, it's a little bit more personal, what we're sharing. We see things that somebody might write in the comments. They might ask for prayer because they're dealing with something. We have doctors in there. We have therapists in that group. We have, of course, pastors, apostles, and prophets, teachers, evangelists. We have entrepreneurs. We have daughters. We have wives. We have just women that are leading in that group. And so there's a variety of people that's in there. So when they share certain things, I want them to know that they're sharing it in a safe place. So for those that go back and say, she said, well, if you have one friend, then you ain't valuable. The devil is a liar, and you liar too. You and the devil are partners, and y'all are liars, because that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you had your account hacked and you only have one friend or no friends, you won't be able to be accepted at that time, but try again when you have acquired some friends. And this is the thing that I tell people all the time. When it's something that you really need, and y'all laughing, but I'm so serious. Y'all know how I'm so serious, because I can't tell y'all that we're going to try to protect y'all and don't. And so for those that will have a problem with me saying that, then we can totally understand that you're not one for the group, and that's fine. Because I know if that was me, if I was joining something, and if I wanted to write about some issues that I'm having and some challenges, I would not want just anybody in there that will screenshot my stuff or try to start trouble or whatever. I would feel confident that somebody is actually attempting to vet and monitor who comes in, so I can know that I'm in a safe place. That would help me. But I understand everybody don't think like that, and that's cool. I'm good with that. But if you did apply, and for those that may have only had one friend, we had some. If you didn't have no friends and you only had one friend, hopefully you have some now. Try again, and we will accept you. But if this is something that you feel like this blesses you, I don't care how many times you got to try. Don't let offense come in and be like, well, I ain't trying again. Because if they think, no, you probably really need to do what it takes to get in this group, because you'll really be blessed. Because we need to help you with that offense, so you can walk into everything that God has for you, because that will hinder you, right? And so there's a lot that we share. Is other guests that's in there. We talk about finances, budgeting, all those particular things that are in there. And very soon we're going to do a big meet and greet. We're working on that as well, because there's so many different people that's in there, and we wanted to be a blessing to each and everyone on there. And again, be patient with us for that, because we're still building. And we're building quite rapidly, but we want to make sure that we're building it very strong, and that we're building it solid, and that the people are being blessed. And so be patient with us as we build, because we want something that we can make sure that we're being a blessing to each and every one that is a part of it. Okay, so I am glad that I had this time with you guys. Make sure you have this notification on. Thank you all for the stars. Thank you all for the comments. I also shared all that while I was waiting to see if you all had any questions. I don't think anybody wrote any questions. I think we are good on that. But if you have any questions, always feel free to inbox me on this page, Teresa Hawkins Global, and I will do Q&A. It don't have to be on anything with the women. It don't have to be on her story. It don't have to be about his story. It can be about the prophetic. It can be about anything. Coming 2021, we are bringing back Straight Truth. Actually, Straight Truth podcast is coming back. That's something that's been in the works for several months. Actually, it's just been on hold with everything that's going on. I didn't want to have too many things open at one time. And now that we got his story and her story all straight, thank you, Derica, for the stars. Now that we got his story and her story straight, Straight Truth podcast and Straight Truth Live will be back 2021. So I'm telling you, this page is going to be explosive. So make sure that you have your notifications on. The other thing that I love about this page is, though it's the page that God blessed me with, is my page, I love sharing my platform with other people, so that everyone that comes on will be blessed, that are open to be blessed for what we share on this page. So make sure that you are following this page, Teresa Hawkins Global. Please share, help me get this word out. Again, if you have any questions that you want to be answered, please send them to our inbox. If you want to share your testimony, share it to the inbox, and give us grace to get to you, because there are so many that come in. So I love you guys. Have an amazing day, and I will see you all soon.